Yellowstone, 10 Most Annoying Characters Taylor Sheridan has written. Whether it's cheating or murder cover-ups, these 10 Yellowstone characters gave us moments so infuriating we almost threw our TVs into the fire pit. Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone is packed with characters so frustrating that they hit below the belt. Since its inception in 2017, it has laid bare a brutal world of power struggles, family legacies, and ranch life, soaked in blood, betrayal, and bad calls. Set in Montana's unforgiving plains, the Duttons, led by John Dutton, Kevin Costner, until his unceremonious exit before the fifth and final season, have fought tooth and nail to protect their ancestral Yellowstone Ranch. But amid the gunfights and drama, Sheridan has created characters so aggravating that even the cattle would be shaking their heads. Let's cut to the chase. Here are Yellowstone's most infuriating characters. You've stuck through 5 seasons, endured the accents, and screamed at your screen. Now here's the proof in black and white. 10 Walker. Ryan Bingham's character, Walker, rolled into Season 1 as an ex-con with a guitar, a soft drawl, and enough smugness to make a priest want to punch a wall. Fun fact, Taylor Sheridan didn't even write him into the original script. When Bingham joined, the role was created specifically for him. Fans quickly romanticized Walker as the cool outlaw with a laid-back vibe and a love for country ballads. But Yellowstone doesn't keep anyone clean for long. Reluctantly, Walker's been dragged into violence when loyalty called for it, not with joy, but rarely without reason. Still, not all his decisions are worthy of applause. Remember when Laramie, Hassie Harrison, dumped Lloyd, 4AJ Smith, like a hot potato and rode straight into Walker's arms? At first, Walker didn't see the storm brewing. But once he caught on, he didn't back down. Instead, he turned up the heat, smirking, flaunting, and pushing Lloyd's buttons. Proud and seething, Lloyd finally snapped, and the bunkhouse erupted into one of its nastiest showdowns. For all his cool detachment, Walker has a habit of pushing just hard enough to make people snap. And when he does, he rarely looks sorry. 9 Teetar. Teetar, Jennifer Landon, showed up sounding like English got deep-fried and spiced with attitude. Half the time, you need subtitles just to catch what she's yelling, but that didn't stop her from owning the bunkhouse spotlight. Equal parts cartoonish and charming, she's elbows, insults, and non-stop flirting, mostly aimed at poor Colby, Denham Richards, who finally gave in after years of verbal dodgeball. Beneath all that Texan bravado, Teetar's not a bad egg, but she's no calming presence either. Her worst moment? Classic Teetar in full throttle. When Rip, Colehauser, and the crew run into a gang of cocky California bikers trespassing on Dutton land, tensions blow up fast. Teetar's trash talk hits a nerve, and fists start flying. What follows is a disaster. Teetar throwing punches like she's been waiting all week for this fight. Rip wraps it up with a knockout branding move, but Teetar steals the show, proving that when the heat's on, she doesn't just hold her own. She swings like a legend. 8 Monica. Let's talk about Monica Long, Kayce. On paper, she's the series' thoughtful, patient woman from the Broken Rock Reservation, trying to protect her son Tate and stay sane while married into the Dutton circus. But over time, that compass started spinning like a broken weather vane, totally pointless. Wife of Luke Grimes' Kayce, she spends much of the series glaring at Dutton's wealth, disapproving of Kayce's dive into family violence, and preaching how toxic it all is. Fair enough. But it's hard to take her seriously when her own actions blur the very lines she claims to despise. Take Season 2. After a nasty injury, Monica starts physical therapy with Martin Sensmeyer. Suddenly, her marriage to Kayce becomes optional in her mind. One rehab session turns into flirting, then a full-on kiss, all while her marriage is barely holding together. She doesn't cross the line physically, but come on. Kissing your physical therapist while your husband's out dodging bullets? That's not therapy, it's emotional cheating. 7 Caroline Warner. When market equities tossed Willa Hayes aside, in swaggered Caroline Warner, Jackie Weaver, part poker buddy, part Wall Street's coldest python in pearls. Don't let the sweet act fool you. She didn't come to negotiate. She came to gut the Duttons and rebuild Montana in dollar signs. Right out of the gate, Warner's goal was clear. crush the Duttons and turn the land into a corporate playground. She pulled the oldest con in the book, luring Beth Dutton, Kelly Riley, into market equities with a sly grin only a pro manipulator can pull off. That plan blew up because Beth eats people like Warner for breakfast. So Caroline got nastier. And yes, that's exactly why we're all counting down to Beth's own spin-off show. But that's a story for another day. Then there's Sarah Atwood Dawn Olivieri Warner's secret weapon. She didn't just send Sarah near Jamie Dutton, she put her right in his bedroom. The mission was clear: use him. And Sarah did exactly that. She seduced Jamie, fed him lies, and turned him into a pawn for market equities land grab. Warner didn't get her hands dirty, but she hired the wrecking ball and watched it smash into the Duttons without flinching. For someone who calls herself a business titan, Caroline sure likes to let others do the dirty work. 6. Thomas Rainwater. Chief Thomas Rainwater Gill Birmingham came to Yellowstone with a clear goal: reclaim his land. He wasn't looking for sympathy, he wanted results. Mostly, he played it smart, calculated, and controlled, avoiding the Duttons' violent chaos. But don't put him on a pedestal just yet. Right out of the gate, Rainwater made a bold move. He took a whole herd of Dutton cattle that had wandered onto the Broken Rock Reservation. No talks, no warnings, just straight-up seizures. He didn't return them or try to smooth things over. He stood firm, proud, and unyielding. That choice ignited a deadly chain of events. What began as a property dispute quickly turned deadly. Lee Dutton, John's eldest son, was shot and killed. Rainwater didn't pull the trigger, but he lit the fuse by refusing to budge or negotiate. He may have gotten wiser since, but that early mistake showed one thing: Rainwater isn't above using power when it suits him, even if it costs blood. Principles took a back seat to the ego that day. Once set up as Kevin Costner's biggest on-screen rival, Rainwater had all the makings of a legendary threat. Instead, he was benched, underused, and faded into background noise. For a show built on power struggles, that was a slip-up too big to ignore, and even Sheridan can't keep dodging the fallout. 5. Garrett Randall. Garrett Randall, well, Patton, didn't just walk back into Jamie Dutton's life. He blew it up. Absent for Jamie's whole life, Garrett reappears in Season 3 with all the warmth of a rattlesnake and years of bottled-up flame. Jamie learns he's adopted. He tracks down Garrett, searching for answers, maybe a connection. Garrett doesn't waste time. He serves Jamie a bitter plate of resentment. You were stolen. The Duttons used you. You deserve better. It's fatherly manipulation cloaked in pity, and Jamie eats it up. Then comes the ambush. End of Season 3, chaos explodes. John Dutton's shot on the roadside. Beth's office turned into a war zone. Kayce barely escapes a firefight. Rip's cabin was reduced to ashes. Fans were left reeling, and the shock? Garrett planned the whole attack.
Why?
Because he wanted the Duttons wiped out, not just challenged or exposed. He wanted them gone, so Jamie could rise from the wreckage, free from the family that raised him. Not so surprisingly, Garrett wrapped it all up as doing it for his son. No guilt, no second thoughts, just pure, ego-driven delusion. Garrett didn't try to be a father. He tried to be a god. And thank God, he failed. 4. Jamie Dutton. Wes Bentley's character Jamie Dutton leapt headfirst into the moral abyss, with his eyes wide open. Sure, he's been humiliated, ignored, manipulated, and gaslit by his family for years. But victimhood isn't a hall pass for becoming a traitor. Taylor Sheridan's fixation on making him loathsome has stripped Jamie Dutton of the nuance that once made him fascinating. Instead of evolving, he's been stuck spinning in the same sad spiral. Less tragic antihero, more designated scapegoat. Why is he one of the worst characters? Let's not forget that Jamie already had blood on his hands. He killed a reporter just to keep his dirty laundry folded. But what scorched his name into Yellowstone infamy? Letting his adopted father die and doing nothing but crawl deeper into bed with the woman who plotted it. Everything fell apart when Sarah Atwood stepped into his life. She fed his ego and planted the idea of taking out John Dutton, not through politics, but for good. Jamie hesitated briefly. When he learned Sarah ordered the hit, he didn't walk away.
Didn't warn his family.
Didn't even blink. He stayed. slept with her, backed her, and watched the chaos unfold. Sarah eventually gets shot, and Jamie sheds a tear, mostly for himself. And how about her toxic equation with Sister Beth? Even Kelly Riley was fed up with Taylor Sheridan dragging out her fight with Jamie in Yellowstone. Also, people want to paint Jamie as a tragic victim of manipulation and neglect. But here's the hard truth. He had choices. He just picked the one that buried him in an unmarked grave. 3. Rip Wheeler. Rip Wheeler isn't just the Duttons' enforcer. He's their muscle, executioner, and emotional wrecking crew all rolled into one. He's also probably the last man on Earth you'd want to piss off after sunset. Equal parts loyal and lethal, he has done unspeakable things in the name of protection. And the terrifying part is, he rarely regrets any of it. But not all of Rip's violence came from loyalty. Some of it is just out of ego. His treatment of Walker, Ryan Bingham, is a low point even by Rip's brutal standards. From the moment Walker arrived, his mellow, rule-of-verse vibe clashed with Rip's militant devotion to the ranch. Where Walker questioned the code, Rip enforced it like gospel. And the latter didn't just dislike him, he wanted him gone. In one of his ugliest power plays, Rip sliced Walker's face with razor wire, not because he posed a threat, but because he didn't show reverence. When that didn't break him, Rip went nuclear. He ordered the man killed. Literally. But it doesn't end there. When Walker reemerged alive, Rip kidnapped him again, determined to finish what he started. This wasn't about protecting the ranch anymore. This was personal pride gone rabid. 2. Lloyd Pierce. Lloyd Pierce has been riding with the Duttons longer than anyone else left on the ranch. He's part cowboy, part relic, and used to be the calm, steady uncle of the bunkhouse. But age won't save you from losing your cool, and Lloyd lost it hard when Laramie dumped him. It all kicked off when Walker swaggered back into the bunkhouse like he owned the place. Laramie? She didn't hesitate to jump ship from Lloyd to Walker. Did Walker rub it in? The guy practically serenaded Laramie right under Lloyd's nose. But nothing justifies what happened next. Lloyd shattered Walker's guitar as it owed him money, then pulled a blade and buried it in the man's chest. No warning. No hesitation. If the others hadn't pulled him off, we'd be talking about Lloyd as a murderer, not just a jealous, lovesick fool. Rip didn't let it slide, either. He beat the hell out of Lloyd himself. It was ugly. Heartbreaking even. Lloyd might have taught Rip how to ride, but in that moment, he needed someone to teach him how to grow the hell up. For a character who brought grit, heart, and old-school cowboy soul to the bunkhouse, the lackluster send-off felt like a disservice. Any hope of a future spin-off appearance? All but buried. 1. Dan Jenkins. The most wasted character in Yellowstone, Dan Jenkins, came to Montana like a smooth card dealer at a big game. Early on, he seemed like the quintessential bad guy. But Jenkins wasn't just a one-dimensional villain craving destruction. Oddly enough, he actually had a soft spot for Montana's natural beauty, almost tipping into environmentalist territory. Strange bedfellows, right? Still, don't get it twisted. Beneath that layer of appreciation lurked a ruthless businessman who'd bulldoze anyone in his path. The Duttons? Dead set on stopping his vision. Jenkins knew the score and wasn't above dragging their names through the mud, digging up every scrap of dirt to turn public opinion against them. Things escalated when Kayce nearly took Jenkins out for good, but rather than folding, Dan flipped the script. He sided with the Duttons, teaming up with Thomas Rainwater to lock horns with the Beck brothers, another brand of danger on the horizon. Here, Jenkins might not have been the absolute worst, but his slippery loyalties and sharp elbows certainly made him a wild card worth watching. Which of these characters tests your limits and why? Do you agree with our ranking, or is there someone else you'd toss into the most annoying Hall of Fame? Spill your thoughts. We'd love to debate whether annoyance is just the flip side of engagement.